So every customer has this journey to get to us. Every product or service, the customer has a journey. In the old days, if you imagine what that journey would look like, before cars, you had to walk to the trade store, had to walk to that particular town center or wherever that store may be, and they would have everything you would need there, from hammers to clothing to food. And that customer journey would be either I walked from my home to that store, or maybe, if you pre-cars, you took your horse and buggy or whatever it is to get to that store, or you rode in on the horse to get to that store. That is physically what a customer journey is. So we're talking about the same type of journey for a customer to get to us, but we're looking at it through an online perspective and using traditional marketing tools to help us understand how a customer gets to us. Because understanding how a customer gets to us is important to know, because we want them to come back to us every single time. So if we understand how they got to us, we can improve that journey, or we could even market to certain points of that journey. Again, physically think about that old-fashioned store in the middle of the town center, and before we had cars, and you had your home, or your farm home, let's call it, because most people back then who worked in these towns worked off of a farm or might have done something else. They got on their horse and they traveled the road, and it wasn't paved, right? But it was a cleared road to get to that particular store. So we knew the journey that they take, because there's only one road in and one road out. Now imagine if that store along that journey was able to put up some signs on a tree, and paint it and say, hey, stop by and buy 5-pound bag of rice and we'll give you something free. That's an exaggeration, but that's what that customer journey is. There are different points of the journey, a mile out, 2 miles out, 100 away. You could market to your customer. So when we look at the marketing funnel, we have to understand that there's this journey that the customer gets to us. Now, traditionally, the traditional way of thinking about this is what we call AIDA, which is attention, interest, desire, and action. That's something that's been practiced for decades. I've been practicing this as a marketer for decades. So the first thing you need to do is grab someone's attention. The next thing you have to do is create an interest to that buyer, right? That's AI. And then you have to build up that desire for them to buy something. And then lastly, that action. Today we call it the call to action, the conversion. That's important. So that was the AIDA process. So when we think about the customer journey and the marketing funnel, it changed a little bit, and we've changed a few of the words, but it basically is the same. So if you look at the customer journey now, that marketing funnel stages, you have awareness. That's the same thing as attention. We need to make the consumer aware to get their attention that we're involved, right? That we're there. Hey, you got a problem, we can solve the problem. Here's the product or service. The next part is interest. That hasn't changed. We still have to get them to create that interest. And in this, if you think of customer journey, that's sort of the research, right? So the awareness is, hey, I have a problem. This product or service is out there. The interest is the research I'm doing now. Then we have the consideration phase. The consideration phase is the evaluation. That's going through the whole process of evaluating what is happening, all right? And then lastly, we have the conversion. Now, that's that call to action. That's where the consumer buys something. And then the next part, which comes after the first purchase, is retention. We want to retain that customer because we build up that customer lifetime value. It's easy to sell one product to one customer one time. Now we want to sell them a second time, a third time, a fourth time, build that customer lifetime value. We want to retain that customer because it's important to us. And then the next stage of this journey is sort of advocacy. What does that mean? So if you love a product or service so much, you'll tell everybody about it. You'll become our brand champion. We used to call them brand champions. And you're our advocate. You go out and you help us promote our business, and you help with writing great reviews. You help by telling people, referrals, and sharing your great experiences through video, through audio, through written word. You'll become our advocate. That's really the marketing funnel stages. So now let's define the marketing funnel stages. So if we know the first stage of the funnel is awareness, how do I create that attention grabbing information? If you put yourself in the consumer's shoes, what does that mean? Well, the customer could be a complete stranger to the brand. They might not know who you are. They might not know how you solve their problem. So you have to make them aware. And you could do that a lot of ways now. You can do that through social media, through the reviews. You can do that through videos, which is phenomenal because videos help convert customers all the time. By the way, it costs 10 times as much to get a new customer than to keep an old customer, an existing customer. So keep that in mind as we think about this marketing funnel stages. So then you have awareness. How do you get that messaging out? How do you tell that story to get the customer to engage in your product or service? The next section would be that interest. That's the I. So now a customer has that problem. They're going out there and they're searching, and now you created that interest for them. So now they see your brand, they see your product, they see how you can solve the problem, and they start engaging a little bit. Maybe they sign up for an ebook, maybe they look at some reviews, maybe they check a couple of websites out, maybe they check out the product specification page. So they really dig in a little bit to start looking into how your product or service solves their problem. Now start considering it, and they go through that evaluation process. So now they really want to learn more about it and start looking at it, like I mentioned to you earlier. Now at this point, I'm looking at things that make sense to me as a consumer. The first thing I want to know is, can you solve my problem? Then I want to know, can you solve my problem within my budget? Then I want to know, can you solve my problem within my budget and get the product or service to me as quickly as I need it? Then I want to know, can you solve my problem within my budget, get the product or service to me as quickly as I need it? And then what if you don't solve my problem? I buy the product or service, you don't solve my problem. Can I return it with no issues? Can I get my money back because I just didn't make the right decision? So all those thoughts go through my mind as a consumer, and that's what you have to understand your consumer is going through too. So understand that marketing funnel and those stages and that customer journey. Now, after I evaluate everything and I say yes, 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 now I convert. Now I buy something. So now I go ahead, I make the purchase, which is where you want to be at the end of that customer journey. And now I have to retain you. That's where the marketing really kicks in, because now I have to make sure that I'm emailing you saying, hey, thanks for buying the product. By the way, we'll be shipping your product out in the next 3 days. Please keep an eye on that. Here's your tracking number. And then after the shipment gets in, or as the shipment gets delivered, we say, hey, your product was delivered for purchasing the product with us. And then a day or two later, you say, how was that product that you bought? Please send me any comments or reviews. And then perhaps 3 to 7 days later, you might even say, well, now that you bought product A from us, here's a 10% discount to come back and buy something else. So you're retaining that customer and you're remarketing to them over and over again. And you're normally doing that through email or through social media if they're connected. Right? And if you do that long enough, if you can retain this customer and build what I call that customer lifetime value, eventually they fall in love with you and they become your brand champion. They become your advocate. So that's sort of the process and the customer journey: awareness, interest, consideration, conversion, retention, and advocacy. Let's see how we can take a customer from not knowing us from the beginning all the way to speaking about us every chance they get towards that advocacy section. And as a marketer, we have to know where the customer is in that journey, because as we market to them, it's different in each part of that journey. Okay. So if you imagine the funnel being vertical now, we want to bring our future consumers into the top of that funnel. That's the awareness piece. As we pull them through the middle of the funnel, that's where they get interested. That's where we consider buying our product or service, and then we convert them. As we convert them, we're pulling them through the bottom of the funnel. And then once we get them out of the bottom of the funnel, they're not part of our world. They're not part of our consumer family. So they're at the bottom of the funnel here. And if you imagine that funnel narrowing down to the bottom, it's going to start with a lot of consumers that are just interested or aware that we exist. As we get to the middle, it becomes less, because now they're interested and they're considering. And as it gets narrow, they make a purchase. And then we come down and we get our consumers that fall in love with us, that we retain and become brand champions. So that's top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel. In some cases, you might hear it as tofu, mofu, and bofu. So it's TOFU, MOFU, or BOFU. And that's sort of how you process that. So why is that important as a marketer to know? It's important to know that because we cannot send someone a message that's at the bottom of the funnel that says something like, "Hey, I'm so glad you're part of the family. Thanks for being here, and welcome to welcome to Professor Ken's Water." They already are engaged at a high level. So why would you send them a message that really makes them? The message that you might want to send to those individuals, those consumers at the bottom of the funnel, is, "Hey, we appreciate your business. You've been with us for a year now. Can you please tell us how we can make our product or service better? We consider you a brand champion. How can we make the product or service better?" So your messaging to the top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel changes as a marketer. Okay. So that's that concept there. So let's say you're a customer and you're out there now, and we know that there's a consumer buying process. And when we talk about the consumer buying process, remember, it all starts with recognizing that we have a problem to be solved, or we have a need to be filled. That's always the underlining start of any consumer search. And they jump online and they start checking you out. So if you think about this, that consumer buying process, it applies to just about every product out there. Let's say you're in a physical building somewhere. You're in the university, and you need a snack. You walk by the vending machine. In the vending machine, there's Cheez-Its, which is a salty snack, and then there's M&Ms or chocolate-covered peanut M&Ms, which are one of my favorites. So there's two different snacks. One's a sweet snack and one's a salty snack, but they're the same price. They're $1 each, and in front of you, so you know the delivery is going to be right there. As soon as you put your money in, you see it physically there in the vending machine. You put the money in, you pull the lever, or in cases of digital, you hit the number, and down comes your product, your snack. Let's say I decided to go with the sweet snack. I had a choice. I had salty, I had sweet. I decided to go with sweet. I don't know why. I just felt the need to do that. I evaluated the price. I evaluated the delivery. It's all there. I did it, pulled it. Now I get the M&Ms. I take the M&M bags out of the vending machine. I start walking to my classroom. As I start walking to my classroom, I open up the M&M pack and start eating a couple M&Ms. 3 or 4 M&Ms in it. I say, you know what? Man, I should have gotten the Cheez-Its, because I really feel like I'm more of a salty snack type of mood right now than a sweet snack type of mood. So that's the buyer's remorse. That's after I make the decision, now I'm regretting that decision I made. So that buyer's remorse applies to all products. You know, we're talking about a dollar snack here, but imagine buying a TV. If you bought spend $500 on a TV and you got the TV home, you're all excited when you plug it in. You set it up, you start running it a day into it, and then 2 days into it, you say, "Wow, this is really not the TV that I expected," and you start getting buyer's remorse. So when you buy a home, hopefully it doesn't happen because the house is the most the largest purchase you'll make ever, right? So there is buyer's remorse, or the opposite could happen. Maybe I bought those M&Ms and I'm ecstatically happy that it's a sweet snack and it hits the spot, as they say, right? It was a good choice. So that's the customer journey. We have to understand that whole process, and there's touch points throughout that entire process. So touch points are how we communicate the messaging to that customer during that journey. So I talk about making sure we understand where the customer is in that journey, and the promotion and advertising that we present to them has to match to where they are in the journey, right? So if you think about this, if you're taking a flight, I know right now no one's flying because of the virus situation, but if you could remember just a few weeks back what an airport looked like, and you come into here in South Florida, you come into Fort Lauderdale, and you go down the escalators coming off the plane, you go down the escalators, and there's a big sign up there that are attracted to tourists. They say, hey, come visit us at this location. Have fun while you're in South Florida. That's the messaging to a consumer who's taking that journey, who now is already engaged in South Florida, and they say, oh, wait a second, maybe I can do that. So that messaging is right on point, because now they're sending out a message, a timely message to a consumer that is ready to take the next step. So if they get off the plane, they're looking for things to do, they're in that evaluation process, they see a sign that makes sense, they'll go ahead and they'll take you up on that offer. So that's where you have to understand where the customers are in their journey in order to market a message to them in a timely manner.